Hi everyone, welcome to Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. Joined by my illustrious panel tonight. So should we kick it off with a wristwatch check? Dave, you switched squares, so you're up first.
Oh man. Right, okay, so I am wearing this little beauty.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
which
nice.
I have to declare was a gift. But over at Dubai Watch Week, this was
Very
a
nice.
slightly unexpected little thing, which is the Siddiqui family, who, as anyone who has been to Dubai Watch Week will know, are the family that basically run the show. It's their gig for all intents and purposes. They're probably the biggest retailer in Dubai. They've got pretty much most of the brands, albeit some of the brands that are there they don't represent. They just invite them along for completeness, shall we say. And at the show they launched this new brand called Vintage, which is spelt Vintage. Yeah, that's it, Vintage with a Y. And they very kindly gave any of the journalists that attended this little unique piece. There's 100 pieces made. Quite cool. It's not a California dial. It's a half Arabic, half a kind of Middle Eastern. You see it here, the bottom half.
Yeah, funky.
Here. Very much in my favourite colour. It's a ceramic case, which is in this kind of sandy colour.
Nice.
Which is quite cool. Chrono, it is I believe it's I think it's a Seiko movement, but there's 100 pieces. I don't know if we'll pick it up here, but it says Dubai Watch Week 2023, and then this is number 24 of 100. And this come completely unexpectedly at the very end. We were all told to go to the press centre, and we were given a little black box, which we were told was chocolates, until we actually opened it and discovered this inside it, which was very generous of them, and it's pretty damn cool, it has to be said. Okay, it's a mecha quartz, so it's nothing to write home about in terms of, oh my god, movement technology-wise, but I think this is a very pretty looking little watch, it has to be said. Comes with 2 straps as well, this kind of matching one with the teal turquoise stitching, and it comes with a black strap, just a kind of very neutral black strap, but even there, is that the right way around? There we go. It's even branded straps, so they're vintage branded straps as well, and it's a really nice little kind of buckle as well in there. So a little bit of a freebie type thing, so I've got to admit that straight up, but I was quite impressed by it, I have to say. I think this is a cool looking little watch.
Wow, what a great
that's lovely, Dave. Yeah, that's really nice.
I mean, completely and utterly overkill, and I did zero to deserve it, it has to be said, but I thought it was chocolate. So there was one part of me that was like, I like chocolate and I like sugar, so I was slightly disappointed, but that quickly passed, it has to be said.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Rod, you're up next. You're up next in the square. What are you wearing?
I'm up next in the square. Good thing you weren't diabetic, Dave, and said, no, I don't want chocolates. Yeah, but here we go. So that's coming. All right. This is my 1957 Omega Speedmaster broad arrow with an early coaxial movement, which you can barely see. And what's cool about this, though, is that this is the Omega deployment, which you can see there. I'm going to eventually get my light better too. But I bought this off auction with the original band, which looked like it had been through, 10,000 hours of wear. And the Colette Man Cave leather made me up this band to the dimensions of the Omega deployment. And,
oh wow!
A smart job. It really looks good. Fits great.
Awesome. Yeah, shout out to McCullough at Man Cave Leather. My choice for handmade straps contains pre-promotion.
And I paid for that. This is not a freebie. I paid for the straps, but I'm giving him kudos for such a great job.
Yeah, he does a really good job. Thomas, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a Seiko Gen 1. It's a British Army issue back in the 90s. A helicopter pilot's watch chronograph using the 7A28 7120. It was the first automatic quartz movement made by Seiko. I think the first automatic quartz movement ever.
Well, first,
7A.
The first analog quartz chronograph movement.
That's
ever.
the first analog quartz chronograph. Sorry, Todd. Yeah.
Yeah, because Todd, you've got one of these, haven't you?
Yeah, I have a 7. I'm seeing if it's next to me here. It isn't, but I have a 7. A 7A 28 was the first one in 1982 or 3. I've forgotten. And 7A 38 is the one I have, which has the date complication on it. And I love that watch, Thomas. I have the second gen one, which is the 7T movement, which is mostly plastic, but I got it repaired, and it's pretty good. It's a British issue. Also, I'd like to get the 7A like you have at some point.
But I bought it for £7 off a friend at Sixth Form College whose dad was in the Army Air Corps, and he stole it off his dad, and he wanted it to buy £7 to buy a pack of cigarettes. So I gave him £7 and I got the watch.
Almost the best deal ever. Almost the best deal.
I am wearing. Well, I've got 2 watches that I have been wearing, but I can't show them. So, but they will be revealed this week. So I've been wearing my my Marathon Automatic, which was a little trade with somebody in the live stream. So thank you for that. But yeah,
nice.
really cool.
Nice.
Yes, really cool watch. It's not a strap monster. It doesn't. I'm finding I'm going through like stages of straps with it. I've got it on a NATO at the moment. I bought the Marathon one that comes with it, but that'll be a video coming out soon. But yes, this week there's 2 really cool watches coming to review, but I just can't show them yet. Okay, so the theme of tonight's show, and to be honest, I probably overdid the assignment because it's watches we won't buy. So it's watch types, watch brands, and I totally stole this idea from both Jody and Teddy Baldassar. Did similar videos this week, but I thought, what a cool topic of watches that we won't buy, or types of watches, brands, etc. So I've got like, my heart must just be full of negativity towards the majority of watch companies, because I've got like 10 different ones. But so I won't go first. Who would like to go? I'll start. We'll go Dave, Seiko, Todd, Thomas, and then me. If that's okay. So Dave, what is your first watch or watch type or brand that you wouldn't buy?
Limbering up for this one. Right. So we'll go with the least controversial, but probably the one that will make folks suck through teeth and tell me that I'm a heathen. So basically Rolex, because it's boring, boring. It's like, I get it. They make a nice watch. I'm not saying they don't make a nice watch. I'm not saying the company's not uber successful and like whatever. But I think in the wider world of watches, it's just such a predictable, safe, boring choice, you know? And okay, if you want to make your money safe, fine, buy Rolexes, everything else. But I just think there's such a vast world of more interesting stuff for either a lot less money, the same money, or an awful lot more money. But you can always find, you know, and anyone that says, oh, but there's nothing just quite as good. Well, yeah, enjoy your cheese sandwiches, because that's pretty much what it's like. It's like having a cheese sandwich for your lunch every day of your life. It's just boring. And okay, they make the odd, exceptional, weird and wonderful little thing like the Bubbles watch this year was, you know, a bit funky. But it doesn't excuse, for me anyway, the fact that there's so much more interesting stuff out there for, as I say, less more or the same amount of money. So that's it. There's no other reason other than just, I think it's pretty stale.
Okay, so what could Rolex do to make you a customer? To
be honest, nothing. And I don't feel they should, and I don't think I want them to either, for that matter. You know, they have a place, and their place is the same as, I don't know, Audi. Yeah, okay. Like no matter what car you buy from Audi, they all come out just different sizes of the same jelly mold. You know, there's just, and it's well made, but it's just boring. There's nothing left field about it. There's nothing interesting about it. It's just like blandness personified. And it doesn't mean, as I say, it doesn't mean it's not good. And like, anyone that buys them, good on you. Knock yourself out if you want, but just, it is absolutely not for me. It's like the opposite of what interest me in watches. You know, watches are meant to be something you don't need. They're interesting. They're a wee bit different. They're a talking point. They're a bit funky. And Rolex just does, frankly, none of that for me.
Is it the hype and the culture that goes with it, or is it the fact that almost all of the cases are the same? You know.
I don't think necessarily it's anything about the hype, because there's plenty of other hyped brands out there that I do like and I would like and everything else. So it's not about the fact that it's hype or anything else like that. It's just so safe. You know, they just don't take any risks. And I mean, yeah, it's literally like VW or Audi for me. It's just like super safe, super just boring, frankly. Yeah. Simple as that. It's like buying a grey t-shirt out of Gap. You know, just
well, I mean, if Audi
great analogy.
Yeah, I mean, if Audi bought back that rally, that one from the 90s, the white and yellow Quattro that won all the rally races, that would be a good one. Is there not a vintage?
Yeah, but that's like saying Honda made a Formula One engine. It doesn't mean you want to run out and buy a Honda. You know what I mean? It's like every company's got, like, it's like Rolex occasionally brings something out and you go, wow. But then, to be honest, the things that make everyone just go, look what Rolex have done, when you put it against likes of, I don't know, half the independents or MB&F, you just go, okay, so someone spilt a can of paint on one of the dials and someone thought that seems like a good idea. It's hardly revolutionary, is it?
Yeah. It's so yeah, it's funny. Yeah, so sympathy for the bezel put, are they more reliable than an Audi? You know, one of the things that shocked me when I moved to the US was that Audi is considered an unreliable car in America, whereas in the UK they're considered as being quite up there, quite reliable.
I think there's definitely a narrative. If you go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s German cars, relative to be honest, everything else were reliable. It wasn't that they were more reliable, it's just that everything else was god awful, you know. And then the Japanese come along and actually showed you what reliability was like, frankly. And then the Germans have just managed to penny pinch for the last 20 years, and they're probably no more or no less reliable than anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, we started off with a bang. Seiko, Todd, no pressure.
Well, I agree completely with Dave. I don't own a Rolex. I don't desire to own a Rolex. But mine's more like what Thomas was talking about in terms of, it's not like the hype. I don't like the shenanigans they've been pulling for a long time. What watch was really on Sir Edmund Hillary's wrist when he scaled Mount Everest? Was it a Rolex Explorer or was it really Smith's? You know, and so we've been seeing these exposés come through, and I'm just weary of it. I'm weary of all the things, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Although I did get trapped in an Audi one time on the freeway in no traffic, around Atlanta when I was in high school, and it overheated. So, maybe there's some lesson there. I don't know. But what I won't wear are wood watches.
Oh,
so here you go.
Yeah. I totally had that on my list. Yeah. I do not get it.
Yeah.
We can all play that. We can all play that game, Seiko Todd.
We
can definitely play that game.
Ooh.
Well, now that's different. Okay. That's not all wood though. What is that?
It's truly awful though.
Well, I don't get it. Do you know what? I get asked about this a lot. I get asked about wooden watches from people at work. I think at least 3 or 4 people at work have asked me about wooden watches. Mm-hmm. And they're doing a hell of a marketing thing though, aren't they? Because I honestly, Todd, I'll just show you here. How did that get up there? I 100% had wooden watches on my list where, I'm going to have to.
Yeah, there's a store I wouldn't buy a watch from.
Oh,
you asked for that, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you going to sell used Audis, Sam? That's what I really want to know. Used Audis. That's what I'm looking for you to say.
Oh, yeah. No, I would.
CheapAudiParts.com.
There you go, Todd. I totally had it on my list.
No. But Jurassic Time has a point. So there was a legitimate wood dial watch that, I believe it was Tissot sold a long time ago.
They made the Rock
was
watch.
A legitimate watch.
They made the Rock watch. Then the wood watch came after, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can give that some credence if I had that. Yeah. But This thing has got a dollar movement in it. Maybe I've never been able to keep it running. It sits on my desk because it was from a dear person who gave it to me, but it will never, ever be on my wrist. That's just all I have to say.
Yeah. No, yeah, I actually totally agree with that one. I had it on my list, and I have seen a few. Maybe I should buy one and see what would happen if you left it in water for a bit. But,
like sprout arms and legs.
Yeah, you could grow something from it.
That's what happened on the Marvel series. Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot, he started out as a wooden watch.
He started, exactly.
An entity of his own. Right? So,
I mean, to be fair, if a wooden watch did that, you had me at buy a wooden watch.
Yeah, maybe he's actually saying I am growing.
Oh man, did you just say that? Jesus.
That's good.
Oh dear.
It's going to be one. It's going to be one of those nights.
Oh, absolutely. Thomas, save me from the bad jokes.
Okay, then. This is where the audience start to throw tomatoes at me for my first pick. Watches I wouldn't buy. G-Shocks. Yeah.
Get out. Leave. Get out.
Yeah. Not a particular fan of digital watches. Wore Casio as a kid and loved it, but I really like LED watches. Giro Perigo Casquette, the Bulliver Computron. I know, Dave, you've got a Casquette, so you're going to flash yours. The Bulliver Computron. I've seen a Nixie Tube watch on Kickstarter, like the clock that Tim Mosso has behind him on his Monday live stream Nixie Tubes. I know that G-Shocks have a huge following and issue to military, so obviously do their job well, but I don't come into contact with mud and grime that often, so if I'm doing a bit of gardening, I'll have my gloves on and I'll wear a quartz watch, cheap quartz watch, or a cheap mechanical watch, Beta, and they do some great colorways, I know, and they're nice fashion accessories, and but they're not for me. G-Shocks really can't get into it.
Oh, I love him. I have a little soft spot for not all of them. I've had a little bit of a love-hate with a few that I've reviewed recently because for some reason G-Shock's going through a renaissance of making illegible watches. They've taken highly functional watches and made them quite illegible. Some of them. Oh,
models. Absolutely. That's the best fun of them.
Exactly. It's like, we'll just make it a negative display so you can't read the time.
The best bit is when you're staring at your wrist trying to work out the time and you get hit by a bus. At least the watch is fine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah. If I want to watch, I can't read the time on. I'm buying a Belcanto. For the.
Oh yes. The fighting talk is out.
It's all about the listening experience with the Belcanto. Okay, well, before I get an email from Mike after it was saying, well, the GPHG judges thought it was legible. I like the Belcanto. So my first one is Shinola. Shinola watches. I would not buy them, because a number of reasons. I'm sure they're okay. Like, I'm sure the new ones are okay. When they first came out, they were way overpriced for what they were. And all of the little skullduggery that went on behind the scenes about them researching Detroit and all of that, and them actually being part of the Fossil Group and them being funded by a Texas-based conglomerate and the first watch company ever in the US to have the wrist slapped by the FTC and stuff. And I just didn't like the whole thing. But their marketing has worked really well, because I know people from Detroit that think that it was from the ground up Detroit company. They employ people in Detroit. They had the factory there, but they don't make as far as I can find out, they did that kind of smoke and mirrors where they were basically buying Ronda movements, but in their parts. Somebody was like, and then they were assembling the quartz movements there for no reason other than to say they were assembled there. I mean, it must have been, and then the customers obviously having to pay for a process that was already. So yeah, not a huge fan of Shinola.
Sam. Well, you got to understand, they were just imitating the Swiss watch industry.
they were disrupting.
That's really what it came down to, right?
Yeah, they were just.
Really?
I should say shine.
Like
I should say Shinola.
Never.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I hear that everything else. I know people that have got the bikes. I know the leather goods. Apparently, their hotel's awesome as well in Detroit. So that's. I'm glad that they exist, the Shinola. But when they first came out, the watches, I just thought they were just it was just one big marketing gimmick, and it was kind of preying on people's, feelings for Detroit at that time, which was going through a difficult time, and then they seem to just jump on it. So yeah, Shinola. What I would say as an alternative is Dave over at Detroit Mint, who is actually from Detroit. And he doesn't make the watches there. He assembles them, regulates them himself. So and they're very reasonably priced. So big fan of the supporter of the channel as well, Dave. So yeah, I would say, and there is a Detroit watch company that makes mechanical watches in Detroit called the Detroit Watch Company. So that would be my alternative. So my first one is Detroit. Shinola.
You spelling that right?
Yeah, Shinola. I keep saying
very
Shinola.
British joke.
Yeah. People keep. I keep getting picked up in the. I made a Shinola video earlier.
Careful.
Yeah, why Shinola? Why are people? Anyway. So who wants to go? Well, Dave, did you have other watches?
Is it back to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What did I choose? What did I choose for my next thing, just to wind people up for the sake of it? Let me find my list. I need to find my list.
Sort of James. They definitely did intentionally deceive the public. 100%. That's what they got. That's what the ruling actually says. The ruling says that there is never, if you look at that, there has never been a watch company in history that has sought to deliberately deceive its customer. It says that line in the actual listing, so that 100% they intended to deceive the public. So you might not know that, James. If you want me to send you the link to the ruling, you'll see it. They actually called them out and they said they've never seen such deceptive marketing practices. Anyway,
I mean, the thing is, remember, deceptive marketing practices aren't necessarily complicit in terms of they didn't necessarily set out to intend to do that, but they certainly worded it in a way that was slightly dubious, shall we say? Anyway, our second part, and this is probably really going to get lambasted. But you got to hear me out. Homage brands or brands that just intentionally take huge leeway in terms of design language from established brands. Now, let me start by saying this is not about price, or this is not about the fact that sometimes people might want something that, say, looks like a Rolex, but can't afford a Rolex. So they buy something that looks like a Rolex. Don't do it. Buy something within your budget that's cool, because there's loads of watches at very little money that are really cool in their own right. You can spend a couple $100. You can buy Swatch watches for $100. You can buy G-Shock, albeit someone doesn't like G-Shocks, but they're wrong. Anyway, but there's loads of other stuff. Studio Underdog, all of these types of brands out there, a couple £100, £400, £500, under $1,000, no problem. There's a world of good-looking original stuff out there that isn't just a straight copycat watch.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
Orient is a great example.
Or it's a good one.
Yeah, Orient, to be honest, entry level Citizen, the way they have tough titanium at $300, Seiko, loads of stuff. And I get that there's some people that maybe can't ever get to the point of stretching to $4 or $5 grand, $10 for a Rolex, and they want something that looks like it. I just don't see the attraction in it. And okay, maybe it's a bit highfalutin of me to say, but I can necessarily sometimes afford those things, so it's easy to say that when you can't. But I just think it's like anything else in life. Buy something that's original for the money and support folk creating stuff that's a little bit different and is within your budget. I just think it's really disingenuous to buy something. And okay, yeah, maybe that is a bit highbrow of me, and I get it, but I just don't like it. I think I don't agree with companies utilizing other people's IPs, because these guys don't care. All they care is it's going to make them some money. They don't care that your situation or anything else. They're not trying to be the good guy offering you a Rolex looky-likey or a whatever else looky-likey for $300. They're just seeing a fast way to make money, and they're using someone else's time, design, IP, and everything else to do it. There's loads of other cool stuff out there for the money. Support them. Don't support the guys that are just trying to make a fast buck off your back.
Yeah. I mean, this is my specialist subject. I have a video that I made all about this. I've actually made it members only because there was people getting wildly over the top with their criticism of it. But common ones that I get is, one is people. I had Steinhardt on my list as well, because you'll very get, well, I bought a Steinhardt watch and it's really well made, and it keeps marvelous time. And my answer to that is, what type of watch company can make a watch to such a high quality with great materials, great movements, keeps excellent time, and chooses to copy Rolex?
But you see, the reality of it is, this is the one thing that I think will push a point home. People don't, and this is right across the board, people don't truly value design.
Yeah.
Because when people pay money for something, they want to pay for stuff, metal, precious metal, the physical product. They don't like the idea. It's like paying for labor when you get work done about the house, the plumber, the electrician, whatever. Yep. It's like, how come they just only took an hour, but they charged me $2,000 for doing it? Well, because they know what they're doing and you don't. That's as simple as that. And watches, design is one of the best things that defines a watch. What is it that makes a good looking watch and a bad looking watch? Design. It's the one intangible thing that you can't necessarily put your finger on why it costs what it costs. And that's what these companies, making stuff, relatively speaking, is easy. Designing something unique and original and being able to make it for a reasonable cost is really hard.
Yeah, and just to show as well that I had Steinhardt as an example, that they can clearly, from all that you hear about them, the watches are decent. So it's even more insult in that they actually copy Rolex. But I had Skemi on there as well, just because of their just blatant, just rip. The same with Pagani, just rip off stuff. But the one that I always find hilarious that Skemi do is the if that's how you say it, is like, what type of company copies G-Shocks? Like this G-Shock, if you bought the real thing, would cost you what, $50 or something, but they've just chosen to rip it off. So it's not just even the high-end stuff that gets ripped off, it's people trying to make a buck off everything. But these must do well because they've been around for years, haven't they?
I mean, Dave, I recently saw on Kickstarter homage of the Code 1159 Star Wheel for $198 on Kickstarter. I mean, how do you feel if you can't afford $52,000?
You see, right? Okay, so the Star Wheel type, the Star Wheel thing in terms of the way of telling the time, or using these slightly unusual wandering hours, jumping hours, all these weird and wonderful, whether you want to, think MB&F or work, AP, all of these weird and wonderful things. I'm not saying don't use that style of telling the time, right? At the end of the day, all watches use automatic or use manual wind automatic movements. They all tell the time in broadly the same way. I'm not against a brand coming up with a different jumping hour or a wandering hours or anything like that. Just actually apply some design to it. Design a case of your own. Put it into something that's, exactly. Even if, I don't mind the true meaning of homage where there's a little nod to something else, because let's be honest, everything's been done before, Like everything's been done before. Even if you look at APs or anything else, there's always something out there that you can go, well, that's not unlike that. It's like folk when they say Girard Perregaux Laureato is just a rip-off of a Royal Oak, and you're like, well, they actually look nothing like each other other than the fact that they've got a kind of like shaped bezel on a round face, yada, yada, yada. You can see hints of that generation or style or moment in time. All of that I've no problem with. It's just this kind of like copy thing, you know, like literally Xeroxing them out for the sake of doing something that's just lazy. When it's because it's cheap money for them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's the intent, isn't it, behind it? I think because Christopher Ward definitely they do what I would consider true homages, where they're paying like honor or respect to a design. They're paying honor, you know. So their their Sealander GMT's got clearly a bezel that looks very similar to Explorer 2, but the rest of the watch doesn't look anything like it. Even I would argue Invicta, their Pro Diver, it's definitely got the hands of a Rolex, but the case is completely different. It's not. Yeah.
Or, you know, I think a lot of Christopher Ward have definitely got nods to classic pieces, but they're not just straight rip-offs. You know, I'm very much talking about quite often these mass production factories in the Middle East that are just churning out huge volume. And yeah, the quality for the price actually is amazing. It is really good, and they're pretty reliable and they do the trick. Just don't copy things.
Yeah. So so we've got a good comment here where Caudle said, all companies borrow ideas from others. Absolutely, they do. There's only so many ways to make a watch. Completely agree. Obviously, money at play, but Steinhardt targets people that don't want to pay $20. So this is another question that I think is quite funny, because I don't understand people who, and I'm not saying Caudle, that you're like this, but there's a lot of people that dislike Rolex, and that's their reason for buying a homage. And I'm like, why would you want to cosplay like somebody who wears a Rolex if you don't like Rolex? You know, because it's a lot. Oh, they're too expensive. They're too this. They're too that. Okay, well, why wear a cop? Because they are very. Yeah, I mean, Steinhardt can make a decent watch by all accounts.
Right. And this is probably going to get some folks' heckles up, right? But that comment, for example, you know, they're targeting people that don't want to pay or can't.
Yeah.
The reality is probably more likely can't afford to pay 20k for a Rolex, right? The world ain't fair. There's lots of things out there that I want, and I can't afford them.
Yeah.
I want 4 or 5 different supercars, but I can't afford them. I don't go out and buy something that's a blatant rip-off it for a fraction of the price. I look at what's available that's quite cool and original at a price bracket that I can afford. Yeah. That's I think it's the same narrative. You know, I don't go and buy something that's just a blatant rip of it because either I don't want to or can't afford the more expensive thing. I find something within the price bracket that I can afford and I'm willing to pay that I like, and it's different for the money. Why are watches any different? Whether it's clothes, whether it's cars, whether it's houses, you know, doesn't matter where we're at, we've all got things we can't afford and we want. I think it goes the same. For me, it goes the same for no matter what it is. And I think at every price point, the beauty of the world we live in now is there is lots of stuff out there at all price points that's really nicely made and original.
Yeah, so I'll show you. I'll just because you asked, I'll show you an example of what I mean. So this Steinhardt here is clearly a copy of a Batman, 650 euros, right? And then this what you could buy is this Citizen watch, where Citizen have just revolutionized the Eco Drive to have a moon phase complication on it. This says 850, but I just bought one for much less than that. This is like a completely unique, not completely unique, but it's a Citizen design. They've just a revolutionary new movement that's never been seen before, and it's cheaper than like the copy of a Steinhardt. So you can definitely get. I mean, maybe I'll do a video actually on Steinhardt, what you could buy versus what a Steinhardt, and I bet you there's at least 20 examples of watches that are uniquely designed that don't look like something else that are within that price range. Maybe
Absolutely.
I'll do that as a live.
Give me $600 and I'll find you 20 watches that are truly original, really cool, really different. But okay, they maybe don't give the vibe of from a distance. Oh, that might be a Rolex, and that's the downside, I guess.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is that I made this video, this point when I made my homage video. But essentially, The other thing as well that I think is funny is people who wear homage watches because they're like, oh, I'm afraid of getting robbed, or I'm afraid of or somebody stealing it. I'm like, if it looks like a Rolex, somebody is going to chance it. If they are going to chance robbing you if they think it's a Rolex. No watch thief is like, oh, excuse me, is that a Steinhardt? Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to pull a knife on you. I'll see, go on about your business.
And actually, here there's this true argument, right? See if someone comes up to you and pulls a knife in you and goes, "Give me your Rolex." You hand your Rolex over, unless you're really stupid, but you hand your Rolex over, yeah? If someone comes up to you and pulls a knife and goes, "Give us your Rolex," yeah? And then pulls out and it's a fake, you're going to piss him off, probably. He's not going to run up the road going, "Woohoo, I've got a Rolex." He's probably going, I may as well stab you because you've just given me a fake.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in Manchester, so I've been mugged a fair few times, and it's the process of getting mugged that's the traumatic.
That was just his siblings.
Exactly. My younger sister. Anyway, sorry, we obviously went on a tangent by that. So anyway, maybe we'll draw that to a close. But maybe we will do a live stream on it. And people, if you really feel, if you're watching this and you really feel strongly about Steinhardt or like homage watches and defend them, maybe come on the show and we'll thrash it out. Seiko Todd, sorry, you have to follow that. Do you have another example of watches or brands you don't like, or types of watches?
I guess I'm never going to wear a Rolex when I'm hanging out with Sam's family. I've learned that tonight, because
I have a Rolex. We have. My sister has a Rolex as well.
Where is it, Sam? Where is it? Show me right now. Show me right now.
The box is there. The box is there. So I haven't. There you go.
Oh, the box is there. Okay.
Oh, it's not in there. Right.
I've not sold it. So if you haven't sold it. Excellent. If you watch Teddy's video, I really agreed with almost everything he did. One of the things he brought up was not only chronographs, but vintage watches like this
let me look there.
It's one of the more non-traditional 6139 Seikos that just got restored. John of Saks Vintage Watches just did it for me, and I would never buy let's say a vintage watch unless you really know what you're doing. You got to be willing to take a hit. You got to be willing to make some mistakes. You got to be willing to find that ecosystem to where you can get things repaired reasonably, where you kind of have that whole establishment working for you. If you just go out and you say, like Sam, you mentioned, in fact, I got this in a trade recently. Here's an original Citizen bullhead.
Ooh, beautiful.
Lovely.
Right there. Beautiful. It's the first one I've ever had. I have 2 Seiko bullheads. I never said to Citizen. It needs to be worked on. But I got it in a trade. It has the original bracelet on it, which is a rarity. And so what I want to do is I've got to find somebody that's going to work on a Citizen, which is really hard because they have even a worse part issue. There's enough Seikos around that you can scavenge for parts, but I don't know about these bullheads yet.
I asked Dave at Detroit Mint.
Oh, that's true, because he's
a big fan of
doing some of that too, right, when he was making his bullhead. But yeah, just don't go out and say, "Oh, look at this vintage Omega Speed." And you gotta know, because like Speedies, old vintage Speedies, there's some that authentic and some that are not, and you've got to really understand, do your homework, and get in with the right group to find out what's real and what's not. And that's the amount of Frankens out there is scary. And my first vintage watch buy was a Franken. So. I lost $100. It was a trial, but be very careful.
Yeah, it's good. I actually had on my list watch brands like Universal Genève, where you can't get the parts anymore, in-house movement. So would that be a good example as well, Todd, of what you're saying?
Yeah, that would be a good one, especially if you're not part of like the Universal Genève community, where you can find people that may have a stock of some parts, but you've got to be, it may take you a year to get something working because you're I've chased parts all over the world for certain models of vintage Seikos. You just got to be willing to do the hunt and make mistakes. as part of
it. I wonder if in future, when this 3D printing in metal becomes more accessible to normal people, that might be a renaissance in. I mean, you still have like the mainsprings and stuff, wouldn't you? But if you can scan and recreate a part, that's a great example. Yeah, I had the Universal Genève on mine as one example of that. Mm-hmm. Cool, great example. Thomas, do you have
another type of watch I wouldn't buy? A tourbillon, a very impressive mechanism. Undoubtedly, Breguet constructed it so the pocket watch movements could overcome gravitational forces and be able to position differently, I believe, and different types of tourbillons, gyro tourbillons, flying tourbillons, dual axis, but ultimately they're fairly useless in a wristwatch, taking a lot of power to exist, and they're pretty to admire, I find, but way out of my price range to afford and a decent one. I find that they clog up the dial a lot, even though they're very mesmerizing, and but there are ones with the tourbillon in the back, like the Lone Ferrier Grand Sport Tourbillon Pursuit, the won this year's GPHD Tourbillon Prize, which is in the back. I just feel that tourbillon looks better on display, even ironically in the front, even though it clogs up the dial. But I just found that it's not really a useful mechanism. It's not really that useful a complication in today's world. Particularly in a wristwatch, and I wouldn't outlay a load of cash for a tourbillon.
They're so good looking, aren't they? They look the business. Some of them.
Yeah.
But I've never. I mean, out of my price range. I mean, you can get cheaper ones, can't you? I think, but I mean, Teddy actually did that in his video, didn't he? He had cheap tourbillons or something was in his.
Yeah, you get Chinese ones. You get cheaper ones, and
the thing with tourbillons is they hold a unjustified level in terms of horology. They're not the easiest things to make in terms of if you want to design your own good quality tourbillon movement, but they're by far and away not the most difficult either. You want a real headache? Design yourself a new ground up chronograph, because you talk to watch engineers, and I've got the luck of talking to them every day. They're like, yeah, okay, give me like a year and I'll white sheet you a new tourbillon, and it'll take a while to prototype and engineer it, but it's not really genuinely not the most difficult thing in the world. Give them the task of doing a new chronograph and they'll tell you to come back and ask how they're doing in about 5 to 10 years. Really? Because it's painful. It's just a horrible conjuncture of parts and moving parts and things that have to run in synchronicity to each other and can very easily go out of all of that kind of stuff. But I would say tourbillons are an area that the world of watches, it's so unnecessary. No one needs a watch, but you definitely don't need a tourbillon anymore. And it is relatively difficult in the grand scheme to do one. But I agree with you on that cutting holes in dials. Yeah.
So Mark, who's all suffering from the lurgy, kindly joined us the other day before it got the better of him. He's saying, randomly cutting holes out the dial. Great one. So my next one is the Franken watches from some Indian eBay sellers, because I certainly got attracted by this back in the day when I first started collecting watches. And you go on eBay and like, Seiko 5 or an Oris for. I mean, they used to be a lot cheaper, didn't they? Like $15 from India. And I ended up, when I was first starting out, I bought probably like 5 in one night back when I was drinking. And but now, I mean, and the Macy's are still going, but I bought probably 7. One turned up and the crown fell off straight away. So they seem to be quite the quite the thing still after all these years. So these are sort of Franken watches that are made by some Indian sellers on eBay. That's my ones I would never buy again. Stun the. There is legitimate, obviously, watch companies in India. I'm just saying some eBay sellers.
Right.
There's a lot.
You got to watch the UK sellers too, because they're proxy sites for those.
Oh yeah, actually, there was one here. Is this? I'm not calling this person out, but yeah, maybe there is a bit of a proxy for. But yeah, all of these look shipped from India. These are all, these are dials that.
I've always been very wary of buying stuff on eBay from India, watches from India on eBay, because as you say, they mix and match the parts, and they take parts from all sorts of different things, and keep the nice parts and put in.
Yeah, I would buy like a HMT. I would buy a watch from an Indian watch from India, but it's these sort of Franken watches that the watches that look too good to be true, I'll say.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've got a couple more. Dave, did you have another one?
I do. Yeah, and this is where we probably do need to be slightly careful. Any watch from any watch brand, even if I really like the watch, even if it's the best watch in the world, that comes from a brand and or watchmaker who is of questionable moral fortitude.
This is only our opinion and not the opinions of...
Well, we're not going to name brands because I don't know whether your third-party insurance is good enough. But yeah, there are many nice watches out there from some brands where I would question whether you would want to pass money to that entity in terms of how they behave, whether socially or otherwise, as a brand. And there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, it's interesting, is it? Because there's been a conversation over past many years, hasn't it, separating the artist from the art or whatever, where yeah, no, I
mean, yeah, there's just some really questionable ones out there, and some who you always know there's something, but then suddenly the true colors come to light. And there's been a few recently that people have divested, what you would regard as a very high end and very high net value and accruing value pieces, and some folk who have got out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Someone in the comment gets it.
Oh yeah. I won't show any just in case. Anyway, Seiko Todd.
Freedom of speech, Sam. Freedom of speech.
Yes. But Todd, another flaming hot potato. Your direction.
Yeah, I'll just grab it right over here. Hold on, let's back up a little bit. Are you okay? My dog is behind me. So I have the small Invicta that I refuse to.
Yeah. You got it from Flavor Flav.
Actually, this is a Seiko darkroom clock, a vintage one. But no, my joke is, I just could not, even their really good one. I couldn't wear modern Invicta. Now vintage Invicta is actually quite good, but modern Invicta.
They make that one. They make the Pro Diver, which I still think is one of the
Pro Diver is a good watch.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
If you want to modern watch, if you want to wear a mechanical, if you want to get a friend into mechanical watches, then that Invicta Pro Diver mechanical. And I can say this from YouTube's #1 Invicta Pro Diver bracelet resizer. I still think I have the #1 video for how to resize an Invicta Pro Diver bracelet. But that is a decent. I mean, it is a cheeky nod to the Submariner, I would say. This, it's got the Mercedes hands, but the case is off. It's got Invicta etched down the side. But you can get for like $80 also on the Black Friday deals. It's hard to tell which is quartz and which is the mechanical in terms of the price, because there's only $10 difference. That they're a great start at watching Invictas. But I mean, what what a business though, Invicta, because not only do you see they consistently have their own boutique, if you call them boutiques, stores in. There's one in Vegas. They have some premium real estate where they're selling these. Or where was I the other day? In the Bahamas, they have a sort of like an Invicta store, and you see people wearing them. I think you see more people wearing those bigger Invictas than, I don't know, any other brand that I can think of. And we were on a cruise the other day, and they had an Invicta sale, and it was swamped.
Yes.
People loving them.
Yes.
It's true. And whilst most of what Invicta does, I'm like aesthetically, no, thank you. At least lots of them are quite original. I'll give them that. I mean, I think they designed it with their eyes closed and a blindfold and a blunt pencil, but they're at least a little bit different. And I was out somewhere. Where was I? I was out today looking at some bathroom stuff that needs doing. And the guy was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm into my watches as well. He says to me, I go on cruises and I buy watches all the time. I've got loads of Invictas. And he was dead serious. And I'm not going to knock the guy, but, he was excited. He was talking about watches and he was like, oh, yeah, I see. And he this big, frankly, ugly ass looking gold plated monster on his wrist. But he was dead proud of it. Good for him. Honestly, good for him. At least it's original.
Yeah, and they also answer good questions like, what if a Daytona had an adverse reaction to a bee sting?
yeah, exactly. I think an Invicta answers the question that didn't need answer, which is, don't let AI design watches before AI could ever design watches.
Yeah, exactly. But the answer is, what watch would you use as a knuckle duster if you got into a fight, in an impromptu street fight?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Thomas, you're up next.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna. I know we're running out of time, so Dave beat me. I want to get two in. So Dave beat me to it with the Rolexes, and I wanted to get the Rolex Daytona in because I think it was totally overhyped, almost coveted, like bragging rights if you get one at retail, and it's just a big flex. I hate the culture that surrounds the watch. Tiny to read, illegible. The screw down pushers, how often do people unscrew them and use the chronograph? So that's my gripe about the Daytona. But I'll get on to my. This
doesn't
is
have the date either. Don't forget that.
No, this is where I fall out with Seiko Todd. This is where I fall out with Seiko Todd, and I get more tomatoes thrown at me by the audience. Seikos. I wouldn't buy a Seiko. I love Grand Seikos, the Omonotari and the Micro Artist Studios, undeniably amazing watchsmiths. Seikos in general are rammed in my face and by my friends and YouTubers far too much though. I appreciate the history and heritage, and they have some really nice vintage models, but Seikos I won't buy. Modern Seikos I just won't buy. A few nice models and reissues, albeit with a few QC issues. But I would much rather support an upcoming micro brand that has a different design and uses a easily exchangeable Seiko NH movement in it, and a cheaper price, and given to the constant bombardment of different models from Seiko themselves. I don't know whether that's just stubbornness on my part. Maybe I like the idea of supporting upcoming startups, but Seiko just isn't my bag. A cheap micro brand is a adequate beta watch for me.
So the takeaway I'm getting from this, Thomas, is you need to visit HR for a little chat about your kind of anti-Japanese tendencies here, because everything so far has been like, don't like G-Shock, don't like Seiko.
Not at all, no. I love Grand Seikos. There's some really nice ones I like. I really like.
To be fair, Seikos are made in Malaysia.
All the YouTubers just seem to be featuring, oh, Seiko's the best watch this year. Oh, Seiko, look at this Seiko. Oh, Seiko this, Seiko that. And
They make a lot of watches.
I've just had enough of it. You know,
they do make a lot of watches.
You know, it's just
they make some amazing watches though. A couple of the nicest watches this year I really like.
I'm saying that as a hypocrite wearing a Seiko that I bought at sixth form college, but you know, it's just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming the amount of Seiko bombarding I get. You know,
we need to wind Aaron up. He says nobody's now allowed to bash GS. Right? Who's going to say it? Who's going to do it? Limited editions with Grand Seiko.
Yeah, I had a commenter who had a really bad experience with the Grand Seiko, far worse than my just disliking the one that I got. Yeah, he had a really bad experience with one.
Do you know, I think, Grand Seiko, the only thing Grand Seiko need to do is like probably move the windows so that they get a little bit of a different narrative. So when they send the designer to ponder life and look out the window, they don't come back with yet another dial that's been looking at a forest and a glacier halfway hanging off a mountain.
Exactly, a mountain in Japan or like.
What they need is they need an atelier that slowly turns 360 degrees over the period of a day, so that they can at least get a variety of colours and views out of their window.
Yeah, you know, I think there's so much that they could untapped with the spring drive and stuff like that. I think they haven't really done sports watches that well, to be honest. I mean, that Tentograph, I saw that in person, that was incredible, and they don't seem to be making there's some just pure genius in the Grand Seiko catalog, but they also play it very safe with a lot of things that are just different. Today's point, different dial versions of different things. I think that there's room for more experimentation, and the prices seem to be all over the place, and they obviously take a bath on the second-hand market as well. Very interesting, Thomas. Okay, Seiko Todd, you didn't have anything to say on that one, no?
It's best a wise man will keep his mouth closed in such situations. And I'm okay with what Thomas has said. And, you know, if you hear a sound of a jet aircraft flying over your head and perhaps the sound of a missile being deployed, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so my next one, this might get me in a little bit of trouble. We've only got a couple of minutes, but we'll see. The next one is that I personally wouldn't buy is Tag watches, Tag Heuer watches.
Right, okay.
Right. So let me explain. This was my childhood brand. This was the watch that I wanted to own when I was a kid. Like, no, there was no question in my mind. Rolex didn't even factor in to my mind when I was a kid. I wanted a Tag.
Yeah.
Now I dislike it because the ones that I do like are very expensive. I wish I would own one if I like this. The Skipper and the others. I did go through a weird phase a couple of years ago where I felt like the brand got gifted as to the son of the guy who runs LVMH. It seemed like a sort of you have a play with this and see what you can do. And there was some like crazy diamond encrusted ones and the Mario ones that came out. But I don't see, I like the look of them, but not enough that I would pay them money for. I don't see the value in it, I guess is the answer. I like the look of them, but not enough to put my own cash down on them, I would say. So that's why I wouldn't buy a Tag, even though arguably their current catalog's got some of the nicest looking watches that appeal to my tastes the best.
I agree with you, and this is like, everyone's got this, I guess, either very overt kind of like snobbery about brands or this kind of like subconscious snobbery, and I don't know what it is. Tag's just one of these brands that I just can't quite bring myself. Like when they brought out some of the Heuer stuff, when they brought out a couple of the kind of ones that were more Heuer, suddenly it was like, oh, this is okay. I'm okay with these. It's something, I don't know what it is. It's something about that coloured logo, the little shieldy icon, Tag Heuer. I just can't. I don't know why. They make some lovely watches.
You see them in like they don't. The thing is, they don't do. I was on a I don't know why to keep talking about a cruise, but I was on a cruise and it's literally like Gucci watches, Tag, and then it's the same in the local shopping mall. is Gucci on one little run of the glass case and Tag's next to it. They don't do themselves any favors, I don't think, by the way that they, although there is a Tag boutique in the same mall, but it still seems like a sort of a bread and butter type. Or I made a little bit of a bonus selling cars at the car showroom, and I bought a Tag.
Yeah, and they make some lovely watches. Like their new box crystals are really nice. The Skipper I quite like.
Yeah,
I like some of the Ottavias, great looking watches. They've done some, I know that you're not a fan of the Tourbillon, but they've done some pretty funky, high tech, reasonably accessible tourbillons over time. They've done some funky stuff over the time. It made me laugh just as you said that, because literally as I was walking in the city over the weekend, I saw this sticker stuck to a services box, and it just made me chuckle.
Oh, well, we can't really see it, but what is it stuck on? What's it stuck on?
It says Tag Heuer. I don't know if it'll show up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't show up on my phone screen. There we go. Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Literally just says Tag Heuer. It was quite humorous. It did make me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that skipper was like $4,500.
Oh yeah. Tag Heuer.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's pretty good. Made me chuckle.
Yeah. It's a shame Pete McConville's not here, is he? Because he's quite the he makes some good points about Heuer and Tag and stuff like that. So, but yeah, well, there we go. I think we could definitely do a part 2 of this, and yeah, maybe if we find some people that are really passionate about Steinhardt, we can invite them on. But
yeah,
cool.
It was actually someone. What was it? Someone. Who was it asked? I saw a question here, and bizarrely, I know the answer to it, which is unusual. Someone asked. It was about. It was Sam D asking, is Grand Seiko's polishing technique really different to the famous black polishing technique? And the interesting thing is, the reason it's called Zaratsu polishing is because it's how the Japanese pronounce the German name for the machine. And there were German machines which were spelled Sallaz, which is Zaratsu, as pronounced in German, and the Japanese pronunciation of it is Zaratsu. So they were all originally German polish, or they still are, this German polish machines they use, and the name was on the side of the machine, and it's called Zaratsu polishing because that's how the Japanese pronounce the name of the machine, which is a Zaratsu machine, and they just call it Zaratsu, and it's exactly the same as black polishing.
Because they make it sound like it's some ancient Japanese...
sword polishing technique or something.
Yeah.
Nope, it's literally the name of the German machines that they imported from Germany. And it's interesting because the Japanese have been buying watch parts and especially machinery from Switzerland and Germany for a long time. I was in a house in Switzerland, and it's a residential house that was owned by watchmakers 150 years ago, and they've still got the house book where people signed it. And from back in 1906, there were Japanese visitors who'd signed the book who were watchmakers from Japan who'd been in Switzerland buying machines from Switzerland for watchmaking in Japan. Wow. That long ago, over 100 years ago, and they'd signed the book, and it was all in Japanese and a little drawing, and then signed off. So yeah, it's there's a much longer relationship there than modern marketing would have you believe.
Wow. Yeah, because they definitely ham up that Zaratsu, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful... They are the absolute best at doing it at a price point, because you pretty much any Grand Seiko you buy will have some degree of that Zaratsu grade polishing on it from $5,000 up the way. You want black polishing in Switzerland, good luck getting change out of $200,000.
What is black polishing? Just for because I don't think I know exactly.
Effectively, if you get a mirror and like a mirror and the back side of it is black.
Oh yeah.
Which is what makes it a mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern mirrors are actually an adhesive they put on the back. There's nothing fancy about it, but it's the art of being able to polish a surface so perfectly that it gives an almost perfect reflection back in it. Wow. So if you look at Zaratsu polishing on a flat surface on a watch, you can literally define all your features. Yeah. whereas most polishing is just a shine polish. And if you're looking at it, you get a kind of blurry representation of yourself. Whereas a black polish is so perfectly polished that it's literally a mirror polish.
Yeah, awesome. Well, there you go. Look at this. It's a learning exercise as well as a entertainment show. Awesome. Well, thanks to the panel. Before I go, I do have to plug my Casual Watch Reviews marketplace. Check it out. Link in the description down below. This is where I'll be selling some of my watches. I'll have other people selling watches on there as well. And I would like to do, as I promised in my YouTube membership, I will do a shout out to my new YouTube members for the week. So Thomas, thank you for joining.
Yeah, click the join button, geezers, and
yeah, I'll start fleshing that out a little bit. Yeah. So Thomas is the new member this week. Thank you very much. And yes, I'm gonna in the new year. I'm gonna start doing some membership content and stuff like that. So awesome. Yes. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to the panel. Thanks for all the great comments as well. And
yeah.
I noticed some new faces in there as well. So thank you for all the new people that commented today. Much appreciated. And we'll see you all next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks everyone. Bye.
See you later. Take care. Bye.